Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you everybody for the opportunity to come and speak to you today. So again, my name is Simona, and I'm a senior environmental scientist in the Department of Toxic Substance Control in a program that's called Safer Consumer Products. I'll tell you a lot more about this in my presentation today. I also work as a lecturer at the University of California, Berkeley. I teach some courses in environmental health in the summer. And that's also where I got my PhD in environmental science policy and management. And just like Chuck, we come from the same university. So the Safer Consumer Products program where I work is really a new, innovative program that's truly unique in the world. So we are working to ensure that the chemicals that are used in consumer products are safe for humans and for the environment. We work with manufacturers, and when we identify that a chemical is of concern, we ask the manufacturers if that chemical is truly necessary in the product and if there is a safer alternative. And they have to go through this whole alternative analysis process. And based on that, we take a regulatory response. So as I mentioned, this is one of a kind. Therefore, it requires really unique expertise that you can't really develop elsewhere and bring it here. You really have to develop a lot of this on the job. And it's internationally known for its progressive approach to chemical regulation. Really, we can do things with that regulatory authority that other regulatory authorities cannot. And it was developed because the public has an increasing need for safer products. So this program is, we joke that our shadow is bigger than our shape, because we really are a tiny program. We are tasked with ensuring that the products that Californians buy and use are safe, but there's only 28 of us, technical staff, 17 scientists and 9 engineers. So the diversity of expertise that we bring to the table is really crucial here. We need these multidisciplinary teams, just like Chuck said, for the water boards. This multidisciplinarity is really key here, and the different viewpoints are very critical. So I just want to give you a glimpse into what scientists do in the Safer Consumer Products program. We lead and participate in multidisciplinary teams that do a whole range of activities, including researching chemicals in consumer products, preparing technical reports that are then used also by other groups throughout the world. We inform policy without California and across the US. We engage our stakeholders into a lot of different workshops, webinars, a lot of public meetings to get the best available information. And we also present to non-technical audiences. We develop regulations. We evaluate alternative analysis reports that are submitted by industry. We design new regulatory responses that are designed to eliminate the use of those chemicals of concern in consumer products. And we develop and implement projects that help reduce health inequities for people of color. In addition to that, since this is a new program, we keep working to streamline our processes so we can do what we do more effectively and faster. And in addition to our teamwork, we also have to stay up to date on the latest research, EJ issues, analytical techniques, and so on. And we have to develop relationships with our stakeholders. So this is all about understanding who our stakeholders are and what their needs are. So that's what scientists do. And that is also what our engineers do. You notice the slide did not change at all. That's because it is the same duties, the same responsibilities, the same on-the-job training. Our scientists have also worked, in addition to these basic job duties, to start an internship program to train the next generation of environmental scientists and policymakers in California. So these here pictured are our first 2 interns who finished their internship earlier this summer. We've been mentoring interns. We had a whole new host of interns in the summertime. We also mentor new hires, and we plan the technical content for the Green Ribbon Science Panel. But as you know, we're here today because there's a big pay gap between scientists and engineers doing basically the same duties. The California Equal Pay Act requires equal pay for substantially similar work when viewed as a composite of skill, effort, and responsibility. And so California has done a lot of work towards closing the gender pay gap. But just to put things into perspective, on average, the gender pay gap in California, the difference in pay between men and women, is approximately 12%. But the California scientist pay gap is up to 50% in some cases. And even though, having a science degree is not a protected characteristic under the law, I'm sure you understand that having such big pay inequities really has adverse consequences on individuals as well as on organizations. We know from research that being the subject of pay inequities leads to greater unhappiness, to even poor health outcomes for the people who are experiencing these inequities. But it also leads to poor performance and to decreased productivity. So in addition to that, increased turnover in the organization. So it really impacts the organization as a whole. And we see that in our program, in our small program of 28 staff. We right now have 4 vacancies in environmental scientist classification out of 6. And compare that with our hazardous substances engineers, we have no vacancies there. We have a very fast turnover for the YES series in our program. Also, recently, we had a survey of scientists in different departments, and 75% of them said that they will be looking for a new job within 1 to 2 years because of the pay inequity. 92% of them said that the pay inequity impacts their willingness or ability to recruit others to work for DTSC. And over 40% of them said that had they known about the pay inequity issue beforehand, they would not have taken their current position. So also as part of this survey, scientists were asked how would they describe the impact of this pay inequity to themselves? How do they feel about this pay inequity? And the answers included unsettled, expendable, stuck, demoralized, undervalued, discouraged, and resentful, stressed. So when you put all of that together, what stands out to me is really this word undervalued. And I'm here today because I really want to show you what value scientists bring to our program. So I'm going to talk about myself because, I'm here, but I also want to talk to you about some of my colleagues. So first of all, I provide expertise in PFASs, which stand for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and they're a class of thousands of man-made chemicals that we know now have hazardous properties. They're extremely persistent in the environment. In fact, they've been called the forever chemicals because they will outlive our human civilization. And they're also toxic. They've been associated with different kinds of cancers, with immune suppression, with endocrine disruption, and they're in all of us. They're in your bodies, they're in my body, and they're in our water. Testing in California found that these forever chemicals are widespread in our drinking water supplies. And in fact, California County had to shut down 5 of its water wells over PFAS contamination. And now really one of the big questions is exposure to these chemicals impacting our immune response to COVID-19? Because we know that they suppress the immune system. So I've been working in SCP since 2016, and I've been leading the work on PFASs. I had experience in this group of chemicals from before SCP, and I've expanded my experience here. I brought a lot of contacts that I had from before, and I've led several meetings throughout the years with a whole range of stakeholders from all over the US and all over the world. We had representatives from industry, academia, governments, and NGOs all coming together to understand how to deal with this crisis and how to turn off the tap of exposure to PFASs. So my teams are working to regulate PFASs as a class in several consumer products, including carpets and rugs, treatments for carpets and rugs and other textiles and leather products, and food packaging, because those chemicals are also in your takeout food packaging, the ones that are made of plant fiber products. So we are trying to reduce future exposures, and this work is already making a huge impact. We already know, as we started our, as we're approaching the end of our regulatory period for carpets and rugs, that manufacturers are switching to safer alternatives. So this is making an impact, not just in the US, or not just in California, but also in other parts of the US. And for my work on these chemicals, actually a few years ago, the Collaborative on Health and the Environment awarded me the distinction of nominating me as one of 20 pioneers under 40 in public environmental health. So this work is being recognized in the US and internationally. But again, I am not unique in my program in this way. We have a lot of really bright scientists. So another great example is my colleague Christine Papagni, who has literally helped build our program from the ground up. She was there when she helped initiate the Safer Consumer Product regulations and worked on the very first priority product listing. So she ensured that children's sleeping products don't have toxic flame retardants in them. She now leads SCP's research on the adverse impacts of chemicals in nail products and other personal care products, with special focus on protecting the women who work in nail salons, who are often immigrant women of reproductive age and are exposed to these chemicals that impact reproduction and development. And she's also designed and led the largest lab study of nail products to date in the US. So that's her there during the sampling for those products. Another one of my amazing colleagues is Ann Cooper-Doherty, who leads our work to regulate the carcinogen 1,4-dioxane. So this is a contaminant found in personal care products and in cleaning products, in detergents, that then ends up in our water. So Ann Cooper is pictured here holding that green welcome sign right behind the green welcome. And she has done a lot of work generating public documents on 1,4-dioxane and its role in drinking water contamination, especially with this view of the need for water reuse in California. As a state that's dealing with drought, we really need to think about reusing our water, but our water has a lot of toxic and carcinogenic chemicals like 1,4-dioxane that we need to remove. So she's convened workshops across the state. She's also set the basis for other states to advance their 1,4-dioxane policy through her work, and ultimately drove industry to reduce the presence of 1,4-dioxane and increase the transparency of their ingredients. And that was done with the help of an extensive data analysis that was performed by my colleague Abigail Noble, who's pictured just to the left of that priority of that public workshops slide. So right here on the left, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but that is Abigail. And she is an expert data storyteller. She can take data and transform it into compelling visualization that has helped us illustrate the impact of vulnerable populations so that we can take action. She's also really revolutionized the way we manage our data systems in our program, giving us access to a lot of different tools like the ones pictured here. So her expertise is really in demand, really valuable, and ultimately people like her, people like us who have a lot of experience in these fields are not going to stick around for long if they are continuing to deal with this pay inequity. So I would like to ask you, hearing about these scientists and what they do you think that they deserve a 40 to 50% less pay than their peers with identical job duties? This difference has tremendous consequences. The value that scientists bring to the program is not recognized. It continues to be subject to these unacceptable pay inequities. And through these pay inequities, our programs are suffering through recruitment challenges, through high turnovers, through basically the loss of institutional knowledge and capital. Every time we lose somebody, we lose a lot of knowledge. And as Chuck mentioned, it's really hard to bring somebody up to speed in these programs, especially when we have so much work and everything is so fast turnover here. It also, of course, leads to low morale, which has an impact on all different facets of our organization's work. But ultimately, undervaluing scientists means undervaluing science in a time when we are dealing with pandemics, with health inequities, and with climate change. And I know that unfortunately science has been devalued and dismissed at the federal level. That's part of the reason why we are in this really dire situation right now with COVID-19 and with climate change. Science has not been listened to in many situations. So I guess really the question here is, does this administration value science? Actually, just recently, Governor Newsom said in the aftermath of one of the fires that are raging in our state that Mother Nature is physics, biology, and chemistry. And I couldn't agree more. It is science. Also, Secretary Crawford was talking in an interview with President Trump, and he said that science is key. And it really is, right? Science is key to us moving past these challenges and figuring out how to mitigate and avoid the worst impacts of climate change, how to ensure that our populations are healthy and that the products that we use are good for our health. But that also means that scientists are key. And so I would like you to ask yourselves, and I would like you to ask the governor, what kind of scientist workforce do you want to lead California in this future of climate change and health inequities and all these challenges? Do you want a workforce of scientists that feel undervalued, discouraged, and demoralized? Or do you want scientists who feel proud to work for the state of California? So I really hope that you understand what's at stake here. I hope you listen, and I hope you act. Thank you.